And once again, we are live. Welcome back to Empire State of Baseball, live on this Monday evening, June the 27th, 2022. I am one of your esteemed four co-hosts, Rich Rivera. And this is Empire State of Baseball live on Twitch, airing exclusively on Twitch and powered by StreamYard. Joe,
And
Corey,
I'm back.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Is there a way to kick him out now?
Is there can we just mute him or?
He is back. Welcome back, Joe. Joe, how was your time away from the show, bud?
Time was good. Sat in Connecticut traffic for 8 hours, so that was fun.
Yikes.
But you know, it could be worse. I got to eat fresh lobster about 3 times in Newport, Rhode Island. That was fantastic. Got to go to Fenway last Friday. That was another great experience. I love Fenway. I know you Yankee fans don't like it, but it is one of the best ballparks to watch a baseball game at, and I love going to that ballpark. It's like the best way I could describe it's like a block party that features a baseball game. It's so simple, but yet so welcoming of an environment. I love it. I can see why the city of Boston, it kind of, Red Sox games are an event, you know, and the city is part of that. You know, unlike the Mets and Yankees just don't have that. I mean, you're in either the South Bronx or you're in Queens next to the chop shops. That's not part of the main city. So for me, Fenway, Wrigley, those stadiums, fantastic experiences for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything's about the baseball game on that particular day.
Yeah, no, I definitely echo you there, Joe. And that's really the worst part of New York sports is getting to all of the damn stadiums. I mean, getting out to Queens. Queens is like 19 miles from where we are in Staten Island, and it took me 2 hours to get there. I went to the game not last Friday, the Friday before. No, it was last Friday. No, 2 Fridays ago. But it took me 2 hours to get there. It's 19 miles away. And then they say, oh, take mass transit to the game. Take mass transit to the game. That takes at least 2 hours and 15 minutes. And that's assuming I time everything perfectly. The New York stadiums absolutely suck where they're located. I despise them. Every other city, well, at least some of the ones I've been to, like Fenway Park, like PNC Park, like Wrigley Field, right in the middle and the heart of it. I absolutely hate going to Queens or the Bronx.
Yeah, Fenway's a top 3 baseball experience, more than just stadium, at least for me, in my experiences of going to ballparks. Love it there. Absolutely. It is the baseball park meant for an historian. It's amazing. Tom, do you have any positive notes on Fenway Park?
I haven't been. Actually, I've been to Fenway once in the winter. Had lunch there. I would go. I mean, I don't know why you and I, like, Joe, I think you're like usual wrong. I think most Yankee fans would love to go to Fenway because it is such a bucket list place to go. It's right there with Wrigley. I've also been to Wrigley in the off season before. Well, I wasn't in Wrigley. I was technically in the restaurant in Fenway. Whatever. It seemed fine. I'm sure it'd be great to watch a ball game there. If I was up there for a game, I would absolutely go to one. Probably not a Yankee Red Sox one, because I think that might be get a little heated for, you know, obvious reasons, and I'd rather go and watch them.
But Tom, would you be man enough to go to a Yankees Red Sox game at Fenway, repping the best?
Yeah, I mean, I would, but like, you just don't want to deal with, you know, assholes. Like listen, like when you could, like, I'm as like a fan of a Yankee fan or any other sports I'm a fan of, you can, you know, wear whatever stuff you want into like the stadium. Be respectful. Like, I know you all might think I'd probably be like an animal. Like, I'm very respectful if I go to other stadiums, but there's people sometimes who can be the nicest Red Sox fan in Yankee Stadium or Yankee fan in Fenway, and people will just like try to fight them just because they're wearing a different shirt. So I'd probably try to avoid that this time in my life, but you know.
Mini rant, one of the biggest pet peeves I've ever had going to a baseball game is seeing somebody rep a team that's not playing in the stadium at the time.
Oh, that's stupid.
Yeah.
That's stupid in all sports. Yeah, I mean, dumb in all sports. But again, just like, I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah, we're gonna have to
I
do like
I
a
went to a
top
Yankee Blue Jay game once, repping a Ken Griffey Jr. jersey. So
three.
like,
You're a loser. That's
Interesting.
that's
Yeah.
well,
I mean,
I'm not gonna buy a jersey
you
specifically
didn't even play for the team. You
for
didn't play for any of the teams.
You have
Like, never
Blue
played.
any other
Jays.
shirt. You could just wear a regular shirt. I've gone to Met. I don't know who they're playing. I've been to City Field and I just wore like a regular shirt. You know, it's not that
Alright.
hard.
yeah.
Joe,
Yep.
Baseball. You gotta get in the spirit.
But where's something that's affiliated with either the two teams that are there? It's one of my pet peeves. We'll talk about it. We'll have a big segment on pet peeves at a baseball stadium. Joe, welcome back. Unfortunately for you, let's toss to you, man. Obviously we have a few viewers right now joining us here on Twitch, but tell our viewers right now how to tell their friends to view us on Twitch.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
You could view.
Oh, was that me?
Down.
No, I threw to Joe.
Oh, it is Joe. Okay. I thought it was me. I was watching Monty maybe give up a home
You
run.
can-
I was preoccupied.
All right, Tom, you're going muted. All right,
Cool.
Joe.
You can download Twitch and subscribe to Empire State of Baseball. The link is in our Twitter bio at ESB Podcast. Catch all our latest episodes. Get the notifications when we go live every Monday at 8 o'clock, depending on the holiday weekend, of course. That is coming up next weekend, so we will actually be on Tuesday. But yes, you can find us and watch us on Twitch.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks for the reminder there, Joe. Yeah, next Tuesday we will be live here at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Obviously, we're not going to be taking anybody away from their July 4th barbecues or fireworks. Certainly not taking myself away from it. So enjoy the holiday this weekend, guys. But next Tuesday we'll be back 8 p.m. So for now, let's get back to Monday night, and we're going to talk about the Bronx is burning. And let's get into it. Astros, Yankees coming off a 4-game set. Split the series, which obviously we can credit Matt Tucker for the good call last week on Chooch's pick of the week, who called the split of the series. Now, obviously, there's a lot of takeaways that came out of this. We can unfortunately talk about the no-hitter that happened on Saturday, the almost no-hitter that led to a Yankees walk-off win in yesterday's contest. It was a lot of crazy stories coming out of that series. Tom, let me get the Yankee fan perspective here. What were some of your takeaways from the Yankees Astros set?
It's two best teams in the American League going at it. The Yankees did not lead at any moment in either of the 4 games. The only time they led is when they hit walk-offs to win. But listen, a hard fought series. The Astros did get the no-no on the Yankees. Looked almost like getting the no-no on them yesterday. They able to kind of fight back. It seemed like the Yankees were a bit of a daze and just couldn't get out of the funk, and then Stanton broke them out of it, and they woke back up. I said it last week. I'll say it again. This is a preview of the ALCS, and it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. Mr. Yankees are going to go 8-12 for a 20-game stretch. Let me ask you, are the Yankees outmatched against the Houston Astros as it stands?
I wouldn't say outmatched. The Yankees certainly belong more so than any other team in the AL with them. However, I would not, as a Yankee fan, be excited for.
We don't want you to be a Yankee fan, Joe. So you don't have to say it that way.
As somebody who watches the sport and enjoys the sport, as somebody who can put myself in the Yankee fan perspective right now, you got the split of the series, but you probably lost the series when you're thinking about it in the back of your head. To go 16 straight innings against the top 2 pitchers of the Astros and not get a hit for 16 straight innings, that's worrisome. The Yankee offense is really becoming an all or nothing offense. The first game that they won, it was all home runs up until the Judge walk-off single. The last game of the series, basically same story. DJ comes in clutch with that home run. I would be nervous that without improvement that the ALCS is going to go similar to this, and you're going to get Verlander twice, and you're going to get Valdez and these guys who are not scared of the Yankees, and the Astros love to play the Yankees. I would be a little worried from a Yankee perspective because I think it brought some of the flaws front and center. Not being able to string a hit together, let alone multiple hits together. And really, Judge, who is absolutely the MVP of this year, bailed you out twice, and DJ in the second game. But for me, I would be nervous going into an ALCS against this team. This team will fight you to the bitter end. The Astros also have a flaw that they showed. Their late inning bullpen is a problem. That's something that they are going to have to improve at the trade deadline big time, because I don't know if I trust anybody out there to get it done. But as far as that front end of the rotation and that lineup, that Astros lineup plays every single time, and they're ready to trade and go blow for blow with the Yankees all season long, and they're going to be there in October. And the road to the World Series runs through them and runs through New York.
I mean, listen, you say the Astros have a weakness in the bullpen. They do have the best bullpen ERA in the majors. I think the Yankees clipped them a few times. Ryan Presley, who is almost unhittable against most teams, the Yankees have owned him. They're a good team. I mean, listen, they're a great team, and they're a team that's been very together. They've been together for so long. The core of this team, they know how to win. They've been in big games. They've been to since 2017. They obviously have won a World Series. They've been to 2 more. They're a great team. It's going to take a lot to beat them. Corey, what do you think about what happened over the weekend?
Yeah, I think. Listen, I think this really proves that the Yankees and the Astros really are the 1A and the 1B of the American League. I also think they're the 1A and 1B of Major League Baseball. Astros right now have the 4th best record in major leagues. Yankees first, Mets second, Dodgers third, Astros 4th, just in terms of winning percentage. I actually think the Astros are the 2nd best team of those 4. They're a team that's won a lot recently. The Dodgers have too, don't get me wrong. But I would put them number 2. And this is a preview of a really fun series that's going to happen. I'm pretty confident it's going to be those 2 teams in the ALCS, with one of them potentially winning the World Series. And I mean, you look at the Yankees side of it, I find it so crazy because they split the series 2-2. They did not lead a single inning the whole weekend, the whole 4-game set. The only time they were winning was when they won the game on the walk-offs. So 4 games, never had a lead outside of the actual walk-offs themselves. Pretty wild. And I think something with the Yankees, too, that really you saw Thursday night is they really get some unexpected pop sometimes. And we've spoke about Trevino a lot recently and what he's given you at the catcher position. And I haven't checked the numbers right now, but last I saw, he was like 2nd overall in the MLB All-Star votings at the catcher position, which is absolutely insane when you think about it. But getting Hicks, Hicks every week on the show for whatever reason, and the guy hits a 3-run home run, ties the game on Thursday night. It's crazy how these random guys end up pulling through for the Yankees, and then you lead that up to Judge, and Judge is Mr. Clutch right now. I mean, the guy just is automatic when you need him most to come through. This is really setting up, in my opinion, the 2 best teams in baseball, going to set up the best. I mean, you're going to get Astros, Yankees, and then potentially Mets, Dodgers in both championship divisions, assuming the final standings play as they are now with the current winning percentage. I mean, that's not only going to be the best from an entertainment standpoint, but Major League Baseball is going to love it from a TV rating standpoint. That's for sure.
I have never seen a team like the Yankees get so much perfectly timed hits from guys who do not get hits all week. The Aaron Hickses of the world. Hicks has done it a couple times this year. Gallo's done it once or twice. Trevino's another one. These guys who are absolutely dead weight come through. Hicks can't buy a hit. He hasn't hit for 4 days. He hasn't gotten a hit for 4 days, and he hits a ball out in the 9th inning to tie the game. I mean, it's. I've never seen a team that literally has 2 or 3 black holes in their lineup that just wake up in the 8th and 9th inning. That I've never seen it. And it's happened several times. And part of that's being a good team, and part of that is that luck and having that magic. But the Hicks thing, that's at least the second or third time he's done it. I know Gallo had that run about 2 weeks ago where all of a sudden Gallo was getting hits in the clutch. Donaldson's another one where his numbers aren't really that good, and Higashioka's done it. So it's very strange. And then the Yankees set themselves up so when it always seems in the last few weeks that Judge comes up at the opportune moment, that they are setting themselves up somehow to get to the ninth inning with their heart of the order. And, runners on first and second, you really can't intentionally walk Judge there to pitch to Rizzo and load the bases. But in both situations, it had to have entered Dusty's mind. Am I going to let Judge beat me, or am I going to let Rizzo beat me? I would be willing to bet if that situation comes up now again in the postseason, that he would not opt to pitch to Judge in either of those situations like he did on Thursday and Sunday. So,
yeah, I mean, it's a crazy series. The Yankees capped it off with their 10th walk-off win of the year, and it kind of reminds me of that 09 run there, Tom, where they had, I think, 17 walk-offs, including the playoffs. It was ridiculous. And you had a bunch of guys, and Joe was ranting about Aaron Hicks and whoever is going to, decide to play hero ball. But back in that day, you had young Melky Cabrera, you had Juan Miranda of all people, giving you the walk-off win. It's something about this team which is special. They just know when to click at the end. And here's the thing, the Yanks stayed, maybe with the exception of the no-hitter because they seemed outmatched by that pitching. They clearly were. They just stay in ball games, even if they're losing. I go back to the Sunday game against the Blue Jays, the middle game against the Rays, the second game against the Astros. Still battling to the end, having a shot at putting the walk-off win, putting the walk-off run across, and they know how to fight. And it's just a different vibe from that 2021 team, or those teams that we've seen over the last couple of years. This Yankee team is truly special. Were their flaws exposed? I think so, because you could probably say pound for pound the Yanks Astros pitching is solid, but man, are the Yankees really fueling a tiny engine in Jose Altuve by getting under his skin at Yankee Stadium? And I saw this thrown out there a lot these past few days. Should Yankee fans halt booing Altuve because it seems like it's just fueling the guy to play even better at Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, I would just give a silent treatment. He comes up, no one says anything. It's just dead silent because we've talked about the WWE pro wrestling mix into sports, the real sports.
Joe loves wrestling. Huge fan.
Jose Altuve is just the ultimate heel. He is. He feeds off of it, and you could tell he loves the booze. So just don't give it to him. I would just stand there quietly, no noise.
He's the Chase Utley that Chase Utley was to the Mets. I mean, they love being the enemy. But at the Yankees have created this monster in part for the fact that they haven't shut up for 4 straight years about the quote unquote cheating scandal and how the Yankees were wronged. Well, you know what? Altuve has beat you more than just in 2017. So this is continued on. There's no buzzers. There's no trash cans. There's no nothing. He didn't need that in 2019. He didn't need that last year. He doesn't need it this year. He loves beating the Yankees. And if Correa was still here, Correa would love beating the Yankees. You know what? The Yankee fans are going to boo. They're going to boo forever. Altuve, of all of them, is probably more of a witness than an actual participant in what happened back in 2017. And
I think there's enough.
Owns the Yankees.
I mean, listen. The sad thing about one of the sad things about everything that happened in 2017 and 2019 is that they are good. They were good enough to win without it. That doesn't mean that they didn't cheat. Altuve was in on it too. He was also cheating. And it's a shame. It's kind of similar to the Barry Bonds. You didn't need to take steroids. You're already great. That Astros team was already really talented. They didn't need to go that extra mile to cheat, which they did. And we can go on a whole rant on that, which I don't think we're ready for right now.
Yeah, we'll just wait on that. But the Yankees do have the Astros for one more time this week. As far as the it was supposed to be originally an off day for the Yanks, and because of the delay with the season, now the Yanks are playing the Astros at Minute Maid Park for one game on Thursday, and I think they resume the remaining two games following the All-Star break in mid to end July. So the Yanks get the Astros one more time, and obviously we'll maybe have more stories to talk about on Tuesday after coming out of this series. So we shall see how it goes. But Tom, how can our fans follow us here on Twitter?
Well, they can follow the show at ESB Podcast. Individually, you can follow us at you can follow Corey at G Gory. You can follow Joe at Junior Pugs. Rich at Rich J Rivera. You can follow myself at T Wospil on Twitter. Probably also most of those on Instagram too.
Yeah, I think those are all the Instagram handles too. Except for Corey.
Maybe
Corey's G Gory for whatever reason.
Yeah,
Why G Gory?
I don't know. It was the closest thing to Corey that was available at the time. If at Corey was available, I would have took that.
I mean, I guess it's a squiggly line away from being.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, it looks close enough.
Well, listen, I got a word that starts with C, and that's Chooch, and that is Chooch's pick of the week. And I'm going to kill myself after that segue. Chooch's pick of the week. Let's see if Matt can stay hot here. Here we go.
Let's see.
What's up, ESB crew? Chooch is back with Chooch's pick of the week. And this week, we're going to kick it off early this week. Starting today, the Twins are at the Guardians. Now, the Twins are the 1 seed, Guardians are the 2 seed. They're down 2 games. Get this. This, according to the MLB schedule, is a 5-game set, probably due to a rainout. Showing Tuesday has a doubleheader. So this is a 5-game set between the Twins and the Guardians. Twins could pad their lead or Guardians could take the division lead. I think the Guardians are going to take 3 out of the 5 games against the Twins. What do you guys think?
All right. So Matt goes with an American League Central Division matchup between the Twins and Guardians. Guardians turning some heads this year with the surprising good ball they've played this year. In their first season as the Guardians name. Currently, Twins are leading 5-0 right now in the Guardians. So Matt's not looking good from the rip. But what do you guys got in this? We'll start with Corey here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Off to a rough start tonight, 5-0. I mean, listen, it's still early. It's only the 4th inning, so things could change. I'm gonna hedge the Chooch here. It is cool to see how the Guardians are doing. They're definitely performing above my expectations. I'm still going to roll with the Twins. I do think the Twins are the best team in that division, which is, in my opinion, also one of the worst divisions in the league, if not the worst. I'm going to go 3-2 Twins.
I'll roll with the Twins as well. The Guardians just got swept at home by the Red Sox. Granted, the Red Sox are a pretty good team, but still just got swept at home. They seem to be either good. They were good beginning of the year. Then the Yankees came in, smacked them around, kind of like sent them in a tailspin. They were bad for a while, getting better. The division is trash. I'll take the Twins. 4-1.
I mean, I think the Twins have the advantage, except for the fact that the Guardians have had good pitching, which I think everybody knew that they would. Shane Bieber is not quite the level that he once was, but he's still a very good pitcher. Still hovering around a low 3 ERA. I think he's going to have a good second half of the year. I think the Guardians are going to hang in it. I think they're going to make a move at the deadline for a legitimate bat that they need. I think it's a close series. And I think the biggest benefit of this series is going to be the White Sox. They can't wait to watch these guys beat up on each other for 5 games while they got a 3-game set with the Angels, who are dead and buried. You could kiss the playoff goodbye if you're the Angels right now. So I think the White Sox should look to take advantage.
White Sox didn't look good over the weekend.
White Sox have continued not to look very good, but they are still in it, and they need to start moving.
Pretty decent team, 3 out of 4.
Yeah, wow. They need to take advantage of the fact that the top 2 teams are going to beat up on each other for 5
Joe's
straight
savage beatdown on the Angels verbally this season continues, and I think the only thing the Angels would win right now is a sunflower seed tossing contest. You saw
what an absolute
hot take. The Angels should trade Ohtani this year.
You've gone down this.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Fantasy land. Tom, what were you going to say, bud?
Oh, they're saying Glacius is a giant baby for throwing stuff on the field like a temper tantrum. Like,
Well, we
you
knew that.
throw shit on the field, and then like what your grounds crew has to then go up and pick your crap up because you had a temper tantrum. Grow up.
Tom feels for these people because Tom was.
By the
part of
way, scale 1 to 10 on baseball brawls, that was about a 7. That was pretty good.
Oh, it was.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it was good.
You don't get those anymore.
Yeah,
Red
that
Dome
was,
got
was
mixed
trying to
up
think
with the Cowboy
the last-
Bob Orton cast. I love it.
I was
that
trying to
was
think the
great.
last time we've seen. I can't even remember the last time we got one that went that far. Really can't think of one.
a lot of times you get these brawls now, and you can't even call them a brawl because there's barely anything more than like a simple push that's done. Because by the time the players actually get to face, both dugouts are there, and they pull the guys away, and then everyone just kind of talks, and everyone's hyping it up because you just don't see it anymore. You hype up when everyone charges the mound, and they're just having a conversation out there. It's cool kind of see an old school brawl.
Yeah,
You know,
it was always hilarious when they just met in the middle and we're just talking. The bullpen still emptied out. It was just like a waste of time. But no, Sunday's brawl was a nice one. We haven't had a good one like that in a while. I haven't made my pick yet. I'm gonna go with the Chooch here. Guardians over Twins. I'll say it's gonna be a 3-2 series, as he mentioned before. Just because I love me some Chooch. So Guardians over Twins there. No real analysis there. Corey. YouTube.
Yes, and everybody, you love YouTube. We love you. Listen to our YouTube. Here we go. All right. If you want to listen to full episodes of Empire State of Baseball or any particular segment, maybe this last segment was your favorite, or maybe the one coming up will be as well. Feel free. Follow us on our YouTube page. Like, share, and subscribe. Again, the link can be found all over our social media accounts. So please visit us on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe. And as
Corey,
I just mentioned before, go ahead, Rich.
No, I was going to say, Corey, I have a feeling we do have a good bit for you fans watching YouTube.
100%. We got a good one here that you all might like out there because we're going to talk a little MLB trade deadline, some 2022 deadline predictions. We're still a little ways out, about a month out. But when you get to this time of year, you're right around the 4th of July holiday, right? Coming up this weekend. Now you start to think, okay, my team is pretty good. We might have some issues here. This is a spot we want to upgrade. Or maybe your team is just doing terrible and you're already thinking about next year. How could I sell off some of these pieces, gain some assets here? Luckily for us, we're both all in. Our teams, again, number 1 and number 2 in baseball in terms of records. So I don't think any of us are selling here today. So we're actually going to run through both teams. Each of us are going to run through some sample trades. And we'll go one by one, go around the horn here. And see what type of trades everyone wants to do. So, Rich, why don't you pull one up on the screen for us?
You know what? Let's do that, Corey. And here we go with the power of StreamYard. Like I said, our show is always powered by StreamYard. We thank them for their great service here. We have this first deal. We're gonna cover the Mets. And Corey, take it away. What do we got here, bud?
All right, we got a division trade, which you really don't see anymore. But as I mentioned before, you're a bad team. This is the time of year where you're starting to look towards next year, try to get some pieces back. Nationals are a team that's going nowhere. They have a first baseman, Josh Bell, who is expiring contract this year. I don't even believe they can make the qualifying offer on him because I believe he received it in the past. I can't confirm that or not. So I'm having the Mets going after Josh Bell, giving them an option behind Pete Alonso in the lineup. DH could give you a spell at first base if you want to give Alonso a blow. If you're really desperate, throw him out in a corner outfield spot, but ideally you don't want to do that. But gives the Mets a legitimate switch hitter, put probably 5th in the order right behind Pete Alonso. And then I'm throwing in Steve Cishek in the deal as well. The numbers don't look pretty. I mean, a 5.22 ERA, a 1.5 whip, not good at all. But relievers, listen, we have these discussions all the time. Relievers come and go. Sometimes all it takes is a different uniform to change the whole fortunes of a team. And you look back in 2015, when the Mets acquired Tyler Clippard, the Mets acquired Addison Reed. They acquired Addison Reed as a waiver deadline pickup back in August of 2015. And the guy ended up having a phenomenal season for the Mets and ended up having multiple seasons with the Mets that were great. On the national side, I'm giving them Dominic Smith. I think Dominic Smith needs to have the opportunity to have a full-time role. Right now, he doesn't have much trade value, so I'm a little concerned that this is not enough that the Mets are giving up here. But I do think if you give Dom 150 games as the full-time first baseman, stop toying with him, stop the left field, the DH, the first base, playing twice a week, 3 times a week, pinch hitting here. Let the guy play out. Maybe he starts to live up to what you saw in 2019 when you thought, okay, this might be a good guy. This might be a part of the core of our future team. So Dom Smith in this is the headliner. He does have 2 full years of arbitration after this season, so it gives the Nationals an opportunity to maybe find the first baseman of the future. I also threw in a first base prospect. Again, first base, not a position of need for the Mets with Pete Alonso taking up that spot. So I threw in JT Schwartz as well, who is the Mets' #1 first base prospect in the organization. One thing to call out with Nationals and first baseman, they do not have a single prospect in the top 15 that is a first baseman. They have 1 first baseman in their top 30 of prospects. So first base is a little weak for them. And just throwing out another prospect out there, I'm going to go Robert Dominguez. Again, young pitcher, 20 years old. Supposedly he's got some good stuff, but he is a ways away at only 20 years old and still pretty raw. But listen, Steve Cishek, that's a throw-in. He's obviously going nowhere. He has no value being 36 years old with a 5 ERA. I just like, I like that move from a Mets standpoint. Maybe it's not enough. Maybe they have to give up a little more. But I think that type of deal would work for both teams.
I like it. I like the veteran pickup, but the likelihood of an in-division trade happening, that's curious. Joe, what do you think of that deal?
Listen, I'd like to get Bell. I don't think Cishek moves the needle for the Mets really at all. Chances are he would be on the back end of the 40-man roster, and you would have to DFA somebody else to make this deal work. But I like the prospect of adding Bell. I like him batting behind Alonso, adding that power to the lineup. I do think the Nationals are going to try and get a little bit more than what Corey had over there. I think 2 prospects outside your top 15. Again, teams might have different rankings than us. I think they're going to want a little bit more. I think they probably will get a little bit more for Bell. I can see multiple teams being interested in him, Guardians included. I could even see like the Astros and the Blue Jays potentially being interested in a guy like Bell, as well as the Rays. I think he's going to be one of the premier bats on the open market. So I think it will take a little bit more to get him. I think, however, if you can get Josh Bell, I think that would be a great addition to the lineup.
All right, Joe, what do you got here for the New York Metropolitans?
Okay, so I went a little bit different direction. I don't think the Mets are going to want to bid in the top end, the deep end of the pool on a power bat. I think the biggest weakness for this team is the bridge to Edwin Diaz. I have them going in a different direction, going after Scott Barlow and Andrew Benintendi from the Royals. In return, you would send Jake Reed, Dominic Smith to match those would match the 40-man roster spots you would need to clear for Barlow and Benintendi, so nobody else would have to get DFA'd in this situation. Alex Ramirez is a very toolsy 19-year-old prospect. He's their 4th ranked prospect according to MLB.com. And Junior Santos, who's a hard throwing pitcher, probably will end up being a bullpen arm, but throws very hard, around the 16th ranked prospect there. Both former international sign-in prospects. In this scenario, I think they come to the realization that they're a team that puts the ball in play. They're a team that beats the shift, that continues to string hits together. I think Benintendi fits that perfectly. He's that left-handed option to kind of complement Mark Canha. You get rid of Dominic Smith. You give him an opportunity to play every day. This also works out because Carlos Santana just got traded to the Mariners today for cash considerations. So Dominic Smith would come in, be the everyday first baseman, or probably split in time with Hunter Dozier between first base and DH for the Royals. And I think the Mets get Scott Barlow back. I think that is a perfect. He can pitch the 7th. He can pitch the 8th. If Edwin Diaz needs a spell, I feel comfortable putting him in a position where he has to go out and get a save late in September. So I think that's a good trade for both teams. Royals get that future. The Mets get the bridge to Diaz and a nice lefty bat to complement to replace Smith that can rotate between DH and outfield.
Yeah, I mean, that's a deal. I feel like that solves two problems in one. Obviously, getting another bat in there to complement the already great lineup that the Mets have, and Scott Barlow to hopefully help bolster that bullpen. We've talked about it. We've joked about it in the show. The Mets need relief pitching in the worst
yeah.
way, the
100%.
absolute worst way. Corey, thoughts before I take this one?
I really like that trade, and if that's a trade that happened today, I mean, I would fall in love with it because I mean, Joe hit on the head. The biggest need really for this team, even more than the biggest need is relief pitching, and honestly, they not only need one, I think they need two relievers. I do not trust Lugo anymore whatsoever. I have zero faith in Lugo, and Drew Smith is a guy. While he's been pretty good, I'm not going to trust Drew Smith versus the Dodgers in a playoff series in the 8th inning. I'm sorry. I'm just not. I love the Barlow pickup. I think that's a really good trade idea. And Benintendi, like you said, I mean, I personally really like Mark Canha, so I think having a lefty-righty platoon out there in left field would be pretty good. Gives the opportunity to maybe start Canha at DH or Benintendi at DH. You have one in the outfield. There's different ways you could play with it to make it work with the lineup. I do like it. I'd be happy if they made that trade.
I don't know if the Royals are. I don't know if the Royals are going to give up both of those guys for that package, just because those are probably the two premier guys the Royals have to offer, in Benintendi and Barlow. Barlow, right?
Yes, Barlow.
Yeah. He wants to say like Barrow, but it's Barlow.
Barlow.
I think they would probably want a little bit more. Or they want to piece those guys out and get two. Instead of getting a top 5 prospect, unless they're absolutely in love with Ramirez, I think they'd rather get 2 top 10 prospects. They get one from, we'll say the Mets and another one from like whoever. I think they kind of want to move that around a bit. But other than that, I think both those trades would help the Mets for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I think that's one thing selling teams have to consider. Instead of putting two big pieces in a deal for 4 players, you could possibly split those guys up for maybe a 2-person deal or a 3-person deal, and there you go. You add yourself another player to your system. All right, so I'm going to take this one. Who are the Mets getting? In my opinion, I kind of talked about it last week on the show. If you joined us for it, I got the Mets working with the Texas Rangers here. And in this deal, they will be acquiring Martin Perez, who is having an outstanding year, a career season for him at 1.95 ERA. And also Garrett Richards. And Richards, a hard-throwing right-hander, starter turned reliever, did some great work with the Boston Red Sox last year. So once again, you're in a situation where the Mets need a bullpen arm, and you're getting a guy that's going to help bolster that staff where the inevitable may happen in the possible loss of another starting pitcher. We just saw Tyler McGill transfer to the 60-day IL. Obviously, we have DeGrom and Scherzer coming back. You hope that they can stay healthy, but Perez, I think, is a good pitcher to come in to the Mets, and I think if Perez comes to the Mets, I don't think he's coming out of their rotation. I think there will always be a spot open with the risk of injury. But Perez, just in case everyone's healthy, Perez is a guy who can flip to the bullpen if need be. I got David Peterson going back in the deal. I think it's a good match for Texas, a left-handed pitcher. I think he's only got 3-4 seasons under his belt right now. So Peterson going back in the deal to Texas, and Nick Plummer, who's made some early waves with the Mets over the last month. I don't know if he's back in AAA, but Nick Plummer, the number 8th ranked prospect, and Calvin Ziegler, who's pitching to a 3.57 this year in the minors. He is the number 11th ranked prospect going to Texas. Mets guys, what are we thinking?
Yeah, listen, I'll tell you what, Perez this year is really one of the most surprising stories in terms of numbers of what the guy's doing. I mean, you just had the numbers up there, and having a sub-2 ERA for this guy, absolutely incredible. No one saw this coming. Kind of fits into what I said last week also, where I think the Mets acquiring a starting pitcher, preferably a lefty, a guy that you could potentially use late in the season, 4th, 5th starter, come playoff time, maybe a guy you need a couple innings out of the bullpen. You have a lefty matchup. You want to throw a guy out there. He does fit that role. So I'm definitely on board with this type of trade. I don't know if I'm loving David Peterson going back, though. I'm thinking long-term here with the Mets. Peterson's actually looked pretty decent also in his brief time out of the pen this year. I know he's mainly started for the team this year, but did start out of the pen until the injuries started to come to the rotation. I'm a little hesitant on including Peterson in this package because I do think Peterson has long-term value, still being so young, and a former first-round pick as a fourth or fifth guy in that rotation. But there's no doubt in my mind a guy like Martin Perez would be an awesome pickup for this season alone. But you got to look at the career numbers. Looking back at the last few years, he's never performed at this level. But this year alone, listen, I would love it for this season for sure.
Listen, this trade reminds me a little bit of what the Jason Vargas trade was a few years back, where Vargas was having a career year. The Mets went out and got him and put themselves in a position where they, brought in somebody off a career year. In this particular trade, no offense to Rich, of course, I would not give up David Peterson. I think the Mets' plan is for both Peterson and McGill to be long-term stays in the rotation. Remember, the Mets have 4 major league contracted pitchers right now in their rotation. 2 of them making upwards of $30 million. Walker's only signed for a team player option next year. He's probably going to decline given the year that he's having. And you have Carrasco for 1 more year. So the Mets need young, controllable pitchers that they can put and keep in that background rotation. So for me, subtracting one of those who has now looked like he is going to earn a long-term spot in this rotation when Walker or somebody else leaves, Bassett's here for another year, to sign a guy in Perez who's probably going to get upwards of 12 to 15 million next year, for me, doesn't move the needle that much. For me, if Scherzer and DeGrom are coming back anyway, there's going to be less of a need for a player like Perez, and to give up one of your young controllables for a guy that you might not need anyway, and a spot in the rotation that Peterson can fill for now. And then when you go into the postseason, Peterson's not even going to be used in that same capacity. I would not give up for that. So that's just me. I do like Garrett Richards. I think he could be an intriguing piece in the bullpen, whether that's a late inning piece or more of a 6th inning, 7th inning guy who can go multiple innings. That's probably more of the role that I would look for him in. But I would not give up Peterson for Perez.
All righty. Thomas, what do you got, sir?
What do I have? Let's throw it on the screen here. I have, I think, probably the biggest trade, I would say, of all for the Mets here. I have the Mets winning the Luis Castillo sweepstakes, a long rumored to be traded pitcher linked to the Yankees for a long time, and probably about half the other teams in Major League Baseball. And Mets giving up a bit of a package for him, giving up Matt Allen and Ronnie. Is it Mauricio? Is that how we
got it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mauricio. There we go. Listen, Luis Castillo is gonna. The Reds have to eventually move him. Like the Reds aren't competing. They've already traded away guys in the offseason. It's time for them to move him. It's going to take a bit of a package to get him. Mauricio is, he's a shortstop in the system. I'm sure they're going to want to move him around, but he's not going to play shortstop on the Mets because Lindor is going to be there for the next 25 years. So he's basically either you have to trade him for something or you're going to have to get him comfortable at another position. He's been one of their top prospects for quite a while. This trade might require more. You might need to throw in another top 15 prospect to get him.
I think you're giving up a lot already.
I think there's gonna be a lot of people. Listen, pitching is always gonna cost the most, and I think it could really be a bidding war to get Castillo. I think the Reds have held on for so long. I'm not saying it's not a good deal for him. I'm just saying the Mets, like I said last week, need to be all in, and the Yankees need to be as well. They need to do everything they can to get to the World Series and win the World Series this year. So if they have to throw in something else, if they have to throw in some money, because Cohen has it just fallen out of his pockets, to the Reds, like, hey, Reds, here's $5 million also. Enjoy this.
I think the Mets need to make a big here. Probably
that.
would need more pieces included or get the cost down by including Moustakas, though. Need to address other issues.
I will tell you this. I know Mauricio will not be a hang up on any deal. Lindor's here for 10 years. There's no real spot for him at this point. We have 2 third base prospects. You have McNeil and Guillorme who have emerged as everyday second basemen. The Mets have 3 prospects that I believe that they consider untouchable. That's Alvarez, that's Beatty, and I believe that's Matt Allen. I do not believe the Mets would trade them unless you were getting something so monumental that you could not refuse it. I don't consider Luis Castillo that. I don't think that they're going to give up Allen in a package. Now, I could see them giving up Mauricio and maybe somebody else. I can maybe even Vientos, who's killing it right now in AAA. If you're going to get another bat back from them, like a Moustakas, and they deem that that's the kind of guy that could be a DH, for the Mets, who only have at this particular point in time, outside of Peterson and McGill, who are already in the major leagues, Allen is their only top pitching prospect. And for a organization that prides themselves on the pitching, I do not see them moving on from Matt Allen without him cracking the major leagues.
It costs a lot of money to get major league level pitching, and there's no guarantee that Matt Allen is going to be anything.
There is not.
He might be great. He might. We've seen enough with teams all over baseball that you bring up these top guys and they're not any good, and they never develop. I think if the Mets have to do whatever they can to get someone, if they believe Luis Castillo could pitch Game 3 of the NLCS in Dodger Stadium, then they need to go get him. If they believe that.
I'll tell you what, I'm with Tom. I really like this trade. I hate to see Matt Allen go because he is our top pitching prospect, but I personally like it, and I'm going to give you a big reason why here. It's because Castillo has another year of control. There's still another year of arbitration there with Castillo, and you look at next year's team, you could hypothetically have a scenario where Walker opts out, Bassett's a free agent, DeGrom could opt out. I don't really think he should, considering the injury history, and he is going to get $30 million next year and $32 the year after. You could potentially lose 3 of your top 5 pitching. And if you're going into next season, hypothetically, let's assume those other 3 guys are gone. You're still going to have a top 3 then of Scherzer, Luis Castillo, and Carlos Carrasco. That is not a bad top 3 to build around.
Still probably the best top 3.
Yeah, it's still a solid top 3. Throw in Peterson, McGill. They'll probably end up signing someone equivalent to a Taijuan Walker to kind of round out the back end of that rotation. I like this trade because it helps you win now, and it also gives you a little bit of a safety net next year. Matt Allen just coming off Tommy John surgery. I know Tommy John doesn't really have the same lasting impacts as it did in years prior. You've seen guys come back and throw better actually now. But I like the trade, Tom, though. I would definitely do it.
And I would also just say one more quick thing. If you would prefer Frankie Montas, I would just do the same trade. If it's kind of like, who do you think is the premier younger that you can keep on this team pitcher? If you think that's Castillo, if you think it's Montas, I don't think there's a third big, younger starter out there. But if there was, do what you got to do to get him.
Yeah, I like it. All right, Tom, let's keep this going. We'll flip it on to the other borough for our Yankee trade prediction.
So going from offering the biggest package, the biggest trade for the Mets, we're going to go to the smallest for the Yankees. And we're going to have the Yankees getting rid of Joey Gallo. And I have 2 guys up there. Honestly, it really could just be anything they can get for Joey Gallo from the Padres. Originally, I said just Luis Garcia. Rice, I'm just going to say Nair. I know he had a cup of coffee with the team this year. They sent him back down. Don't know a ton about him. I think the Yankees the Yankees want to be able to move on from Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo, we've said it enough. He cannot be on this team in the playoffs. He's batting 9th. They pinch hit Jose Trevino for him the other day. They don't start him against righties. Joey Gallo he's not part of this team moving forward. The Padres, and I know, Joey Gallo's had basically the worst 162 game stretch of baseball you've ever seen. He is someone I do think has value, right? He's not far removed from hitting 40 home runs in a season. The Padres are a team who have
top 10 prospect.
I said one. Listen, it depends how. I said
getting nothing from
you
you.
could
Getting
just-
you're getting the 40-man roster space. That's
The-
what you're
the-
getting.
And to
They're
for.
gonna-
piggyback,
the
why would
Yankees-
San Diego make that deal for
Yeah,
Gallo when
what-
there's going to
that
be a
deal
hole
makes
in
no
their lineup
sense.
and they're in it too?
So
Why would they
I
give
think
up
the
a relief
Padres,
farm?
Junior, if you would just quiet for a minute, I'll explain it to you. Padres are 24th in baseball in hitting home runs. And Joey Gallo, I know, has not been good for a year, but he, when right, hits a lot of home runs. I think you get him quite literally as far from Yankee Stadium away as possible. I didn't look up if Seattle or San Diego was further. I kind of assumed it was San Diego. It seems further away for me. It was just also kind of pointing me to them. Honestly, I would trade anything. I'd get just about anything in return from the Padres. The Padres are a team that I do legitimately think could have interest in Joey Gallo. For a Flyers, the rest of the year, he is a former All-Star, a Gold Glove winner, someone who can hit 40 home runs. That player is still somewhere in there. I think the bright lights of New York have absolutely crumbled him, and I do think in a different atmosphere, he could be a good player again.
All right, so Gallo. Yes, this man should be on the move, whether it be unemployment altogether or another team. I don't think the Padres are that team that would take on Gallo when they're considered one of the favorites to go far in the playoffs. I don't think it's.
I think they take.
Them.
I think you take
it's
a flyer
move
on
for a team that's like in it. Like we
Listen.
talked about the Guardians before. That could be a team that could possibly. You could throw a flyer at him and not ask for much. Maybe a single A ball player, a single A backup catcher, just something. You got to get him out of New York. And I understand Yankee fans going on the fan and saying, hey, they should just cut him. It would be such a slap in the face to just say, all right, we just traded 4 prospects for this guy under a year ago just to cut him. You have to trade Gallo somewhere. You have to find a home for him. And yeah, I agree with you, Tom, in the instance of get him as far away from New York as possible. It's not going to be Team the San Diego Padres who don't really need him and should not touch him.
I think they could. I honestly think they could take a flyer on him because they're a team that does struggle hitting home runs, and that is what he can bring to a team. Listen, if they could trade a much less group of either prospects or whatever for him. I think the Padres could give him a shot, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Maybe you don't give up that much to get him, but. What if it clicks? And what if he does go there and he is more comfortable outside of the bright lights and he ends up hitting 15 home runs for the Padres in the second half? Would anyone be shocked if he was able to do that? Because I don't think anyone would be if you were being honest with yourself. So that player is still in there. I think he has value. And Petco Park is as far away from Yankee Stadium as I could find. I couldn't trade him to Japan. I thought about it, but I don't know if the CBA would allow that.
Did the Texas Rangers have a return policy? That I don't know about because they are in second place in the American League West. I mean, you could realistically send them back packing to Texas for basically nothing. Could be an option since he did play, I guess, okay to be an all-star. Gallo's not a fit here, but I don't think cutting him is the option. I definitely don't think trading him to a team that's in it is an option either.
Well, you're not going to trade him to a team that's out of it, though. Like he has to go somewhere where
middle of the pack team that's like that's kind of there.
Listen, if he's not if they can't trade him, they do have to DFA him after the trade deadline. He can't be on this team. He is just taking up space on this roster. Someone who you don't trust to do really anything at this point. That can't be on a postseason roster, along with someone else who, although maybe on a postseason roster, I'll have a replacement for later too.
Yep. Alrighty. Corey, Joe, do you have anything before I take this one?
No,
I didn't think so. Alrighty. Well, listen, if there is an option for Gallo, and if Gallo is somehow still employed to the Yankees, the only other option for him is to literally be in a platoon situation if the Yankees were to upgrade an outfield spot. And in my trade, I had them upgrading an outfield spot. I've been talking about this on the show for a while of how, although Aaron Judge is playing Gold Glove caliber defense in center field, I think you need to find somebody that can take down that position and move him out of there. I think the more you put this guy out in center field, there is more of a chance for him to get hurt, pull something. God forbid, we don't want that. But I want to move him back into a corner. And the best way to do that is to get a center fielder in Brian Reynolds from the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is going to be this would be a big one, and we can go back and forth on what prospects should go there. One deal I absolutely considered was just a Volpe straight up for Brian Reynolds. But I look at Peraza. I mean, he's at the AAA level, a number 2 ranked prospect, a guy who is easily going to be a shortstop in the bigs and a good one at that. And Ken Waldichuk, who is putting in some good numbers in Somerset, actually got the call to AAA. He is the number 5 ranked prospect in the Yankee system. The Yankees and the Pirates seem to be avid trade partners over these last few seasons. So the move would make sense because the teams seem to get along well in trying to make these kind of caliber trades. And then obviously Reynolds just taking that, just locking down that center field spot. Obviously Joey Gallo's role will be relegated to a platoon situation in left field if he's still on this team with Aaron Hicks. So I got Reynolds going to the Pirates in a blockbuster. I'm sure Joe is saying this is going to cost you Volpe at the least. Joe, what do you think?
No, I don't think so. You know, Reynolds is a good player. He is very much a throwback kind of player, a utility guy that can be used in multiple positions. He's a speedster, but I don't think that number 1 prospects are reserved for game breakers. They are reserved for the top players. Reynolds isn't that. I actually think you might be overpaying a little bit for Reynolds. I think he's a good player. I think he fits the Yankees perfectly. He gives you that center fielder. He can hit leadoff. He gives you that dynamic speed threat on the bases that you don't have right now. I think Peraza and maybe a lesser pitching prospect like Luis Gil would probably get it done. But I don't think that you'd have to go above that for this kind of player. He's not a slugger. He's not a 40 home run guy. He's not that kind of guy that's going to take over a team for 2 or 3 weeks stretch and carry
Nor does
you.
he need to be.
I'm sorry.
Nor does he need to be. He just
nor does he need to be. That's why I wouldn't think that it would take more than this. I actually think it would take less to this to get done. I think the second you bring a Peraza in the situation, the only thing I would say with the Pirates is I'm not sure if Peraza would be the one that they would fixate on because they have O'Neal Cruz and Key Brian Hayes. I think they're set. I know you usually don't go for position. You're just trying to gather prospects, but I think they need more help with that long-term outfield solution. I think Dominguez would probably be the more appealing target to them in this situation. I don't know where Dominguez stands. I think we've gotten off of the Mickey Mantle and Mike Trout comparisons with him, but I still don't know if the Yankees would be willing to move him, especially for a guy like Reynolds.
Tom, did I overpay here?
I don't think it did. Honestly, I think this is a trade that if I were the Yankee, if the Pirates would accept this, I would do this trade today. Another thing we have to keep in mind with Brian Reynolds is he's under team control and through 2025. So you're getting him for 3.5 years. You're not getting someone. This isn't a rental. This is saying, hey, this is the center fielder of the New York Yankees for, through this window, basically. I do think that that's the trade that if the Pirates accept it, I would make it. I see a different use for Peraza, personally, but same kind of idea we said before. Peraza is a top level kind of prospect. Waldichuk is a very good prospect as well. There's no proof that they could do it in the majors. Neither of them have played the majors before. Brian Reynolds has. He's proven he could do it. Granted, he's doing it in Pittsburgh and maybe not always on the brightest, under the brightest lights. But I think it's worth the risk, especially for how long you're getting him for.
And I didn't mention it before, but he would fixate in that leadoff spot for the Yanks that has been a question mark throughout the season. And all the guys they've put in that spot, Reynolds would be the guy. He would be the guy. Corey?
Definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. I 100% would do this trade if I'm the Yankees. And I think, look at the long-term shortstop position. I mean, Volpe is the guy. Volpe is arguably the best prospect in baseball, let alone the New York Yankees. So Peraza is not going to be the shortstop of the future. He might be the shortstop for part of next season and then long-term at second or third base. Brian Reynolds, again, the biggest thing, like Tom hit on before, I mean, this is a guy you have under control for several years. This is an all-star center fielder. So center field, it's a premium position. I hope the Pirates don't bitch out and just sell him for the sake of selling it and take a bag of balls. I hope they actually have some balls and try to get his value or try to re-sign the guy long term. Look at these OPSs.
I don't know if they're going to be able to re-sign him, but they have him through 2025. They have some exciting young players on that team.
They were in third place in that division.
They are in a crap division. I'm not saying the Pirates are going to compete this year, but if the Pirates are, put some smart moves together, they could be a playoff team next year and then for the next couple of years, in all honesty. I don't know if they, the Pirates do sometimes function as one of those teams that will sell off people because they're afraid of really committing and paying the money for players. But if they're willing to move them, I think this is a pretty good offer.
Yep.
They honestly might get more from a different team or even the Yankees, but we'd have to see.
Yeah, we're going to have a special end time tonight, boys, because we are certainly
going late.
Joe, what do you got here?
I got a great trade for you guys here. So as soon as Rich pulls it up. All right. So I got the Yankees going to the Marlins here, which is an old trade partner of them. I have them getting utility man John Birdie, who is an absolute havoc wreaker on the base pads, and more importantly, Pablo Lopez. In exchange, the Marlins would get Miguel Andujar and Luis Gil, who would match up with the 40-man roster correspondents, Roderick Arias and Oswaldo Peraza, who could come up immediately for the Marlins and pair with Jazz Chisholm as their least short-term answer at shortstop before they decide to do what to do with him when Khalil Watson is ready in a few years from now. This is the kind of trade that I think is a difference maker for the Yankees. Birdie can play 5 different positions. He can play any outfield spot. He can play second. He can play third base. He steals bases at an alarming rate. He causes havoc every time he plays against the Mets. And Pablo Lopez is a very good pitcher. 2.6 ERA right now, having a fantastic year. Brings a little bit of a different dimension for the Yankees. I think that shores up the back end of the rotation, protects them from injury. And he's pitching like he could be the second or third game starter in a playoff series for them. So Andujar wants out. He wants a full-time opportunity to start somewhere. The Marlins can give that to him right away. And like I said, Peraza, I think, would be a perfect fit for Miami's long-term plans.
Oh, I like it. I like Birdie. He kind of reminds me a little bit of like Chris Taylor, and maybe a little bit more scrappier version of Chris Taylor. I like that deal.
He's a lot like Brett Gardner. He really is. And I know, Matt Tucker hates Brett Gardner, but it's a dimension of speed and base running ability that the Yankees have been missing for a long time now since Gardner was a little bit younger. So I think in this particular case that it would really benefit the Yankees. He doesn't have to play every day. He can spell Judge in center. He can go to left field in a pinch. He can play second or third base in case Donaldson or LeMahieu go down, and he can lead off. I mean, he leads off for the Marlins. So I think he gives you that little extra dimension. He's a classic. He's kind of one of those classic leadoff hitters that are few and far between now. And I think that's something that could benefit that Yankee lineup and lengthen it a bit for them. So I like the trade for them.
Tom, you taking this deal?
Yeah.
I don't think the Marlins are taking this deal, but I mean, I would. I think Pablo Lopez has more. Listen, with any of these trades we're talking about, because they almost all include a centerpiece. They all include a centerpiece and prospects. It always comes down to, does the other team value? It's really Oswald Peraza who's the move here. Do the Marlins love him? Because they're trading away one of their best players. Again, a guy who is under team control through 2024. So, you're not getting a rental here. You're getting someone for 2.5 years. Don't know if the Marlins honestly would do that. If I'm the Yankees, it also depends what you think of your own prospects. Probably you do it. The Yankees rotation for 2.5 months was the best rotation in baseball statistically. I'm not saying you would take them over anyone, but they were unbelievable. They have fallen back a little bit. Montgomery gave up 5 runs already tonight. So Could Lopez go in there? Yeah, but then who comes out of that rotation? Where do they slide to? I don't know. I think it's an interesting trade. I think it all depends on how much do the Marlins like Peraza.
Yeah, I think I would do it if I hope the Yankees do that just to get Birdie out of the division. Birdie always kills the Mets. A guy who could play literally any position. He's going to give you speed on the base pass. A guy who could go on, draw a walk, and then steal second, and then steal third on you. And Pablo Lopez, great young pitcher, 26 years old. You look at the ERAs. From his first full season onwards, 509, 361, 307, 262. You're seeing a continuous trend down, which you really like to see. So very happy with that. I would do it. It's an interesting trade.
Birdie leads the NL in stolen bases right now.
Yeah,
so
he's very pesky player. Very pesky player.
I just don't think the Marlins do it.
Yeah, I have like a B trade without the Yankee piece, but I'd like to see the Yankees try to take a look at Joey Wendell as a possible
Joey
guy on the smaller side.
You can't have him and Chapman on the same team, though. That would be he'd get absolutely put into a locker. Can't have that.
Well, that'll be fun. All right, Corey, what do you got here to wrap up the trade deadline predictions tonight?
All right, we got a common name because a lot of us were thinking something similar, but I have the Yankees going in a conversation with Chicago. Ian Happ and David Robertson, the return, coming back to the Bronx. Going back to the Cubs, Brian Cashman is the definition of a con artist when it comes to trades. I see the Yankees make a ton of trades where I'm always like, what the hell? How did they rob this team? So I have them robbing the Cubs, trading Hayden Wesneski, number 7th overall, and Roger Arias, number 12th overall. Again, shortstop. This is like the 5th shortstop prospect on the Yankees, so he's useless for them. In Ian Happ, you're getting a guy who is an outfielder, did play some center field in his younger days of his career, only 3 starts in center field. You really don't want him in center field, but I guess if you need someone in a pinch, sure. But gives you a young bat. I think he has 2 more years of control. And then David Robertson, he has David Robertson, no long-term future with the Cubs. I mean, the guy is lucky to still be pitching, but the numbers he's phenomenal. Bring him back to the Bronx. This is a classic Cashman robbery for the Yankees.
Ooh. I love getting these players. I think this will cost more. I actually sent Rich basically the same trade, but I was putting in I think it was Waldachuk and Trey Sweeney, the Yankees' 3rd shortstop prospect, the one above Arias. I think it's going to cost a little bit more. I do think Ian Happ's a very good player. I think it's what's interesting what the Yankees are going to have, and I don't know how much the Mets are going to be in this market, is there is a very clear good, better, best outfield. There's the good in Andrew Benintendi, there's the better in Ian Happ, and then there's the best in Brian Reynolds. And how much are you willing to give up to get one of those 3? I think the Yankees need to acquire one of those. Benintendi being a lefty, Happ and Reynolds being switch hitters would be really good for this team. It just depends how much those teams want. You figure out what the offers are, and I think you make the best deal you can.
I'll take David Robertson for a 3rd time, another ex-2009 World Series champ. I'm all about it. Ian Happ, lefty bat. He primarily would play center field, but he's also another guy who can play a little second base, he can play a little third base. So I like that fit in the Bronx. I would do that deal absolutely, but to Tom's point, might cost a little more to get those 2 guys in there. But again, Corey just mentioned before, Cashman can swindle these teams, and he's definitely going to pull some kind of highway robbery within the next month.
Just like the Pirates, the Yankees and Cubs have been good trade partners. The Chapman for the artist formerly known as Clint Frazier. Now, what's his name now? Jackson Frazier.
Jackson Frazier. You're right.
Frazier came from the
Indians.
Indians, yeah. It was
you combine the 2 trades. No, that was
whatever. It was the same year. A lot happened that year.
Last year, there was a trade. Torres, Adam Warren again.
Yeah. So I think those teams. Are friendly. I could see. It seems like there's always those teams. It's the Pirates, the Cubs, the Rangers. As of late, they're like they get friendly and they just they want to make trades and good thing those teams have things the Yankees might want.
I actually had something similar. I had Luis Gil, Miguel Andujar, and Antonio Gomez going for those two players. I think the one of the important things when you're doing deadline deals like this is you got to remember that the 40-man roster is a big factor. And for me, I think the Yankees are going to be particularly aggressive shopping those prospects that happen to be on the 40-man roster, like a Luis Gil, like Miguel Andujar is not really a prospect anymore, but those players that they don't have to, because if you make the trade with just pure prospects, you bring more than one player, you have to clear two spots. You're really losing four players instead of two players. And it stings a little bit more when you have to DFA other players for a trade that you just made. So in terms of the Yankees, especially who have a 40-man roster crunch and have some top prospects and capital on the 40-man roster who just might not be ready, that Luis Gil kind of player, I think those are
Marinaccio.
I think those are going to be.
Ron Marinaccio has been nice.
Yeah, but teams are going to look at that because
I think the Yankees have other 40-man moves they could make if they needed to.
Well, the same with the Mets.
But in general, yes, that is correct.
Same with the Mets, and including Dom Smith and anything or Jake Plummer or something like that. You're going to try to improve the team without further hurting the team. And in the Mets case, they got 3 or 4 players on the 60-day IL, like DeGrom, like a Scherzer, that have to come back, and they have to make roster moves for it anyway. So the Mets are going to have that bottom half of that 40-man in flux. So to be able to trade from that 40-man and add without DFA and more players is really the key part of this. The Yankees did that last year by bringing in Rizzo and Gallo. They traded from the 40-man. They had a huge roster crunch. I think that's part of what's going to be.
I think quickly looking at the Yankees, if they needed to, would DFA LeCastro, they would DFA Marwin Gonzalez, they would DFA Manny Benuelos, and they would DFA Albert Abreu. All those guys would be expendable to a DFA if needed. I think I texted to Rich on the side. I think the one move the Yankees could make that cost them nothing, though, is someone we talked about a lot in tonight. I think the Yankees need to bring up Oswald Peraza, and I think IKF needs to sit the bench. I am tired of seeing IKF make error after error, and even times he doesn't get errors. He made an error yesterday, and then he should have got a second error for a horrible throw to third that allowed whoever it was
better defense a year after Glaber was doing it, and still not satisfied.
And he's bad. He's a bad defender at shortstop, and he's not a good hitter. I would move on from Peraza as a better defender. See what you have with him. I would, if I was the Yankees, like tomorrow, I would try to move Gallo, and if you can't move him, you get rid of him. And IKF, sorry, you're on the bench. You stink. Let's get Peraza up here, unless they really don't believe in him and they want to just trade him off or something. I would say that by the end of this year, Oswald Peraza is going to be on a major league team. He's either going to be traded and their team's going to bring him up, or he's going to be the starting shortstop at the Yankees, because IKF cannot be your starting shortstop on a playoff team. He stinks.
Wow. Damn. Oh, my God.
Give me Aaron Hicks 100 out of 100 times over IKF.
Well, only a Yankee fan 30 games above 500 trying to jettison the team starting shortstop.
Right.
The team starting shortstop is terrible, and they have
Peraza's not even. It's not, but Peraza has a sub 300 on base percentage in AAA right now. You can't bring him up into the major leagues.
Peraza has been very good as of late. In the minors, he did start off slow, but he has been very, very good as of late. And it's time to see what you got.
All righty. Let's move on, guys. That was great. I love all the trade offers. Hopefully one of them comes into fruition. We're going to see over the next few weeks. But guys, great segment there. And if your friends missed this show, shame on them, but let them know to follow us and subscribe to us on YouTube, Empire State of Baseball. Give us a follow on Instagram at Empire State of Baseball. Give us a follow on Twitter at ESB Podcast. That's all the special ways to get all the notifications, what's going on with the show. And of course, as Joe mentioned earlier, in the show. We do have a few schedule changes. Next week is going to be a Tuesday episode for episode number 14, 8 p.m. start time. So normal start time, just a different day. We're going to be live here Tuesday, July 5th. And then in a few weeks, episode 16 is going to be live on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So we're not going to interfere with the home run derby and hopefully not go 15 minutes to 20 minutes overtime like we are today. We will not interfere with the MLB home run derby. So, of course, we expect the Chooch's pick of the day for home run derby. So we are going to have that episode at 7 p.m. So let's finish off tonight's show, though, fitting enough, with Trick of the Trade. Yeah, why not? This makes sense. So our Trick of the Trade segment, let's turn it over to the Mets side of things. Corey, you have the deal today. What do you got?
All right, we got an interesting one, a little bit of a throwback going back to the 04 season. Mets acquiring Chris Benson and Jeff Keppinger in a trade with the Pirates. Matt Peterson and Ty Wingington. At the time, Ty Wingington was an everyday third baseman for the team. Obviously, once he left, that opened the door for David Wright at third base. But there is an unknown in here, and at the time, a relatively unknown in the trade. He actually did have a substantial career. What do you guys got here?
Also, to let you guys know, Joe does not know the answer to this because he's not prefaced on the trade here. But Joe, do you have a shot at this one?
Oh man, I got so many names buzzed. My first guess was Mike Jacobs for whatever the reason. I know he wasn't part of that trade. I remember the Chris Benson trade. It was a huge trade. I know it wasn't Xavier Nady. I know he went later to the Pirates. I'm trying to work myself through all of the other ones.
It's not Jose Bautista, right?
It is Jose Bautista.
What?
It is Jose Bautista. Hank in the chat also calling it out. Jose Bautista, often an afterthought in this deal because it really wasn't until a latter part of his career that he really took off with the Blue Jays.
Found steroids and
yeah,
HGH.
I mean, and he got tossed around because I believe earlier that day the Mets acquired Jose Bautista just to trade him in this deal 15 minutes later. Jose Bautista eventually did make a return to the Mets, but at the very tail end of his career, I believe back in like 20, don't quote me on this, like 16 or 17 or 18. Towards the end of his career, he came back to the Mets.
I knew he shared the two teams. For whatever reason, I thought he was Pirates going to Mets. So I just threw him out there. I didn't know he was until tonight. I didn't even know he was Mets to the Pirates in the deal.
Yeah, no, great guess though. It is Jose Bautista. Again, afterthought because that trade was in 04. It really wasn't until like the 2010s that he took off with the Blue Jays and became a prominent name.
Joey Bats. All right. Well, here's the Yankee deal for you guys. This is a little bit more recent. I mean, not that much recent there, 12 years ago. July 31st, 2010, the Yankees acquired Lance Berkman, who ended up having a horrible second half stint with the Bombers and then went on to win a World Series with the Cardinals the following season. Acquired for Jimmy Paredes, who was more of a bench piece, fourth outfielder guy, and another player. Who is the other player?
This was 2010. Man.
Tom, you got anything?
Only thing I could think of for Lance isn't Lance Berkman the guy who hit the ball in BP that then Mariano tore his knee apart in Kansas City?
Wow,
that's one thing that always sticks in my head with Lance
some
Berkman.
Fucking memory you had there. I think you're actually right.
I think I'm right with that.
I think you're right.
That's all I was thinking of when I saw Lance Berkman. That's all I think about when I see him.
Look at that guy.
I'm trying to find out who it was. I think it was Lance Berkman. It was some guy. It was a Lance Berkman type.
This is an interesting trade. I gotta think.
Wasn't
This isn't my main man.
Wasn't Phil Hughes, right? He went to the Diamondbacks.
That is correct. That is not Phil Hughes.
Yeah,
it's not Phil Hughes. Corrected is it's not Phil Hughes.
Yeah, it's
not Ian Kennedy.
It's not Ian Kennedy.
Ian Kennedy. He actually went to the Diamondbacks. Hughes eventually went to the Twins. I think he's left as a free agent, or I forget how Hughes left.
Lance Berkman.
No, Tom, it was Jason Nix.
Jason. I don't know if that's
caused
correct.
that injury. Jason Nix.
I don't know if that's correct.
I'm looking at the article.
I think the article is crap.
It's ESPN.
What position?
All right. This is a pitcher.
So I was on the right train with the pitchers.
Ryan, it is not Tyler Clippard. Good guess though.
Yeah,
But
it's not Brad Halsey, right? Halsey would have been gone at that point.
He was talked about in the Randy Johnson deal.
Yeah,
a few episodes back. This is a refutable name. Definitely not a Hall of Fame pitcher, but serviceable. Is he active? I actually don't know.
Serviceable.
There's a wide gap between serviceable and Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But he had a decent
that spot.
career. He had a decent career, it seems.
Oh man,
is he still pitching today?
That's what I'm trying to find out. I think he is.
Ooh, wow. All right. So then it's a name that
confirmed. Yes, he is still pitching today.
Oh,
Still pitching
he's
today.
still pitching today.
He is. He's had a 14-year career up until this point.
Wow.
Good.
And
You know what?
Scotty.
Good for him. Whoever
And
he
he's a
is.
3-time All-Star.
Wow.
2-time
Man.
All-Star.
I'm gonna guess a reliever.
I think he's really got fleeced
Yes,
here.
it is a reliever.
A reliever.
I'll throw a name out.
All right,
Mark
so
Melancon?
predominant. What was that?
Mark
Good
Melanson.
one.
That is
Is it
correct.
Melancon?
Good pull, Joe.
Oh, yeah, good
pull.
guess.
It is Mark
He was
Melanson.
Good guess.
Mark
He
Melancon.
actually was someone I was thinking of the Mets going after in our trade segment before I went for Luis Castillo.
Yeah, it's not a bad trade. Melanson's a very serviceable pitcher. He had a lot of good careers. Multiple time also. I would love Melanson.
I
on the
said
team.
serviceable, man. I know. Listen,
I always forget that. Like I
serviceable.
knew, it's like I know he was a Yankee, but I always forget because he wasn't, really much with the Yankees, and then he has gone on to pitch for just about everyone. I feel like, but
Absolutely, yep. 14.
a guy who will
years
probably be
career,
traded again.
Pirates, Giants,
He will be
Braves.
traded again this year. You would assume.
But
Yeah.
you know what? You're likely right here. The Diamondbacks are not. I mean, the Diamondbacks have put up a better fight, but they're not in it. They're definitely going to be sellers. Maybe see a Yankee reunion. Who knows?
Get
Maybe they'll go to
something. They can
Houston.
get something for him.
Who knows? We'll find out, and we'll talk more on it in the coming weeks. But till then, we thank you all so much for hanging with us for an additional 22 minutes of your time. It's been a long one. It was a lot to talk about. Jam-packed show. We'll go around the room, starting with Corey.
Listen, thank you again, everyone in the chat. Great session today. I want to thank the Chooches in the chat for still being active at 9:22 at night. So thank you for staying with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
12 people suspended for Angels Mariners bros. Phil Nevin gets 10 games. Winker 7. Rendon, Crawford, and Angels coach Dom Cheedy each get 5.
And somehow Carlos Santana also got one, and he just got traded. So, for the Mariners.
That's interesting stuff there. But yep, great show today, guys. We'll see you next week. I enjoyed it. So
What? Wait a minute. We have not had our O's update of the week. Went 4-2 last week.
God.
Let's go Birds. Joe,
Yeah,
you might be wearing a Yankee jersey by the beginning of September. We're gonna lock this up. 6 games
All
over
righty.
500.
This is
Go
pandemonium.
Birds.
We'll see you guys here next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. See you then.